Hi, y'all. How's everyone doing? Give me a second and let me get back to my screen. Okay. Hi, I'm Pamela Butterfly back with another episode. But tonight we're going to talk about race theory, um, the biggest lie ever told about race. And why is this important? Because we have this thing called Black History Month. And I apologize for the noise. Called Black History Month. And a lot of people agree with Black History Month. And this year, especially, we've been seeing a lot of people have problems with in the schools when it comes to race. So they've been complaining about this, the critical race theory and all this other stuff. And this has been coming from a range of people arguing their case about why these things are in the book, or why certain teachers are teaching like slave if this slave picked cotton and that slave doesn't pick cotton type stuff. I mean, a whole bunch of crazy messes going on. A bunch of people who feel as if they're racist superior than the other. They're coming out expressing themselves, saying how they feel about this and the other. So a lot of arguments are on the rise when it comes to race. Now, they would tell you that race identifies a people. This is due to, they'll say, skin complexion. Now, that is the biggest misconception ever, because having to tell who a person is to identify just from the complexion alone, that speaks of lack of knowledge of that person. So many of us have heard and believed, this straight out of Africa story. This kind of implies that these Africans never migrated. They never, left Africa, so to speak, until colonization happened, so to speak. But this puts a big problem on society, especially here in America, when you identify as Black or African American. It's a huge problem when it comes down to those things, based upon, let's say, somebody identifying you as Black, but you may have other, ethnicities going on you don't know, but you might identify as Black, and then something may happen, and you identifying as Black causes you a problem later on in the future. So there's a big misconception about race, why these things were set up, and the way that it was set up. It was designed to do just what it's doing, this division based upon complexion. But it goes way deeper than that. And they give us all the answers, and they tell us every single thing that was a plan And that came to pass when they write it in their books. So you have Helena Blavatsky, who identified race as far as like Africans and who they were as a people and stuff like that, and other scholars and philosophers as well. However, it's a distinction when you say Black or African American, because it goes, any identity goes way deeper than the skin. And even when you go to check your ancestry and things like that, it's in the blood. So when I say that they give us stuff in the books all the time, it's in the books about this one man who his mother was from the first Alpha people, his father being it from the Omega people, and he having the key to life. Now, this is important for a reason, because he had to go through a transmutation. Now, when I speak about transmutation, and I'm talking about in the blood was the key. So is mankind on earth is the key. When we talk about the blood, there are, let's say, just like races, they say there are 4 races, now there are 5 major races. Same thing with blood type. 4 major blood types, but then now, there are 5 and others now. So when we get into the knowledge of the blood, we'll talk about what's the most dominant. And I'll speak about what's the most dominant because it's the reason why I'm going there as far as the blood goes. So when you look at the blood chart, you'll see O negative and O positive and AB and all these others. However, even down to I think the last one being RH. So O negative can give blood to every single person on this planet, but they can only receive blood from their own. So this makes them, let's say, almost like an alien type of people, set aside from the other blood types. Now, to me, it's saying that if that be the case, and this blood type varies, and this is why we can't go by complexion, because you have the darkest of dark to the whitest of white of O negative, simply because they are in a range. Okay, they come in a range of all colors. Speaking of the dominance of this blood type. So let's say O negative blood types have multiple children. Like let's say they have like 5, 6 kids. All of those kids are gonna come out with different complexions. So it'll be ranging, jumping back generations on the lighter or darker side, not necessarily being the complexion of the parents, so to speak. So this is speaking about the dominance of that blood type and showing that complexion has very, very little to do with race when it comes down to people identifying race as being the human race. Excuse me. People identifying it as being the human race. So even with that distinction of the human race, we still have to look at the blood type, because that O negative sets aside a different type of blood. It's not as if anybody can just distribute blood to these people, right? But they can give blood to everyone on the earth. So they are somewhat of a like an alien type of blood that, let's say, gives the source, right? Helps life. So when it comes down to races, the biggest lie to that is to believe that race is divided upon complexions. Who someone chooses to identify as per someone else putting a label on them. Now, I don't see this as all the Black people coming together and saying, yeah, we choose African American or Black. So there are others who choose to identify as other because they don't identify as a Black person or an African American, because they say they people did not come from Africa. So many people will laugh. Some people will be like, oh, they delusional, oh, they coons, oh, they this, that, and the other. But if these people know who they are and did not fall for the lie of the straight out of Africa theory, then who are we to say that these people are wrong? Because we believed the straight out of Africa theory, that all of us came from Africa. Now, with stories, I can say they give us truth and they give us lies. They embellish both. So the truth would be, if they are trying to say Black people or Africans are the mothers and fathers of the earth, then we would have to say, okay, let's get down to the blood type then to see if these people really are, because they could be the offspring of these progenitors. Just because they look like these people, that doesn't mean that they are the ones who mother and father the world. So I just happened to take another look at this whole race ideology when it comes down to complexions and Black against white and white against Black and everybody against all this stuff. But to me, that had to have been a design created. And it makes sense because, like I said, to me, I'm just putting things together. If you write about it and you wrote it in a way to where it subliminally said these people against these people, and not everybody is clueless to kind of be like, oh, I wonder who these people are. They know who these people are per how things are going, and you can say who's on top and who's on the bottom if you want to consider those things to be factors. People are putting two and two together to say, oh, this race must be what they consider to be the master race or the superior race, and everybody else must be come from these people when they give you the Adam and Eve story. But again, like I said previously, in a prior video that they give you this book, but a lot of us don't read in chapter 1 that it's a different creation, and that these is the creation of the first people, and that the first people was in a different land. And then Adam and Eve came, they ended up having kids, and one of their sons married somebody from the first land, from the first people in chapter 1. The people in chapter 2 married back to the people in chapter 1. So this is showing that the beginning race was there, the end race was created, and then the end race going back into the beginning race to recreate and create other races, or so to speak, the people in between, or whatever, a new race, or what they consider to be the fifth race, that so to speak. So, we see that this is a design built upon fallacies, built upon illusions, ideas, things like that. And this is harmful to the mind. This is harmful to society, to see complexion as oh, this is a good guy or bad guy type of thing. Now, you have people who feel as if when it comes down to race, that mixing is an abomination, that dating or marrying or producing outside of their race is an abomination. So here's the how I see it. Now, again, this is just my take on it. Everything goes through a cycle. Okay, so if there was, like they said, evolution happening, and I don't agree with the whole evolution theory of their theory, but I do agree that evolution happened when it came down to the people. And when it came down to whether what animal or insect or whatever they want to say, but I believe that we as people still hold the truth within us, and that's water. We're birthed in water. You know what I mean? Like, when we come out, there's water. So it's like there were old theories, old sayings that we were fish, which would make sense because the whole time we're breathing in fluids until we come out and breathe air, right? So that's sort of like a death of one phase, being that you no longer breathe that way. You no longer live that life of breathing in the water. Now, you're birthed into a new world, a new living, so to speak. And now you breathe air. So if there was an evolution process happening here, I can agree that we are fish people, that, the first people, or if you want to call them people, mermaids, whatever you want to call them, came from the waters. As far as the complexion, that is a whole theory by itself. But what we can say is that we must have came from the waters, because we still do, even though now we've become adapted to land and air and this atmosphere. We've become adapted to it. But in order to be birthed into the new world, we still have to go back to the original birth, which is being made in that water, so to speak, surviving in that water, so to speak. So there are theories that I do agree with, and some I do not agree with because they are too outlandish, and it's like it makes no sense, and there's no connection to truth to it as far as what we can see, as far as what we know happens. When they say nothing new under the sun, and we see that, we've been seeing that. So we stick with what we know. And what we know is that when it comes down to us as a people, as a race, or anything such associated as a species, there was some type of evolution process happening to where we transform from one state to another state. Now, I can say that many people will disagree because they don't want to be associated with connecting to other people or other races, and they rather exclude themselves and identify as something different or superior. And that's fine. Everybody has an opinion, right? But what we do know is that we all have a connection to one another. There's no denying that. There is some type of being that we can say we all have an ancestor to that connects us. So for a whole argument about race or race theory or anything such, to me, it's like, it's a bit crazy to me. When you start like really thinking about it, it kind of makes you be like, wow, who comes up with this stuff to say that they feel this type of way, to say that they disconnect themselves from the human race. Now, not unless they're not human, then that's something different. And who's to say that we can deny that? Because again, evolution happens and transmutation happens. One state changing from another. Now, again, it may look like a human, it may look like us, just like we look like the first, I'm pretty sure. Give or take, some things may be a little different. But nonetheless, we do know there's some kinship there. So to even argue when it comes down to culture, that culture was created. And unfortunately, people fell in it. But what we do see is that a change is happening, even regardless of what we see people wilding out, acting strange, doing things, and we want to stereotype and call labels and stuff on these people. But at the end of the day, again, this is created for division. This is designed for division, even amongst yourselves. So when we get to labeling, talking about labels, oh, you white, you black, you yellow, you green, you this, you that, it's nothing wrong with identifying. But when it comes down to superiority, I think that's a matter of it being a proof of in the blood. You know what I mean? Like, can your blood save the world type thing? It has to be some type of superiority there to say that these people are gods, because a God, you can give and take life. So these old negative people gave life, and they can take it away if they choose to stop giving blood. So when we think about things a little deeper on that level, that's kind of scary, because how many people will not be here if it wasn't for these O negative people? So that's like, that goes way beyond complexion. To me, that's a petty argument. That's something somebody wants to argue about when it comes down to race. Let me see. So that's all I want to say about race. And when it comes down to race theory and critical race theory, and when it comes down to the whole argument about race wars and all this stuff, I think we need to go a little bit deeper into seeing the manipulation that was played on us to fall into this misleading information, to fall into ill hearts and minds. So for me, it's like, if anybody had this much power and used it in this way, then that means there is a bigger problem we all face. It just hasn't reared its head yet. And even though it might seem like it is, with all the, race arguments and stuff we see going on, I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. So, yeah, I'm out. I just wanted to touch on this. If you have some input on race, you want to share your thoughts, please do. I would love to hear about what you think. If you know a little bit about blood, or O negative blood, or blood types, please let me know, explain, let me know what your theory is on it. I am still doing readings. And if you would like to book a reading with me, Pamela Butterfly, you can catch me on Facebook Messenger, message me, and I will schedule you in. I thank you all for watching.